Feeling confused? That is the topic of the week, is confusion. And so I've got Gene Key 64 up here, and that's the gene key that is, I guess, in the air for all of us here. It's almost like the psychology weather. And so this gene key has been top of mind for me and the conversations I've been having this week. And the shadow of it is confusion. So where are you feeling confusion in your life or business? And the gift of this is that once we overcome the shadow, we go into the imagination, which then leads into the illumination, the ahas, the insights, the eureka moments. So I've had some interesting contemplation on this. And so to start off, that's what I would invite you to do, is what's been feeling confusing this week? And it's probably frustrating. It has been for me. And so these different areas of your business, marketing, sales, admin, finances, is it certain parts of your life, friends, family, relationship? Is it the bigger picture of where you're going with your life, your business? Or maybe it's more on a granular scale where you know where you're going, but the tasks in the short term, maybe there's confusion there. So this has been very interesting. And as I was reading the gene keys, I got one of those original throwback versions from like 11 years ago, 12 years ago, something like that. One of the things that stood out to me is that the confusion being caused, well, first off, the confusion can put us in two different areas. It can have us imitating other people out of fear. And I believe in modeling success is great. Modeling what works is great. And of course, there's overdoing it. It's trying to copy every sense of what somebody's doing rather than modeling what works and then, having our own style with it. So that's something that can happen with this confusion. Or our mind can just be on overactivity, thinking. And that's what I was reading in the Gene Key today. And why this has been top of mind for me, because there's been a part in the True Freedom business with the dashboard that's just been so, I thought it'd be simple, but it was so unsurprisingly complex, which is going to be good for everybody who has it once I figure this out, because it brings so much value. Well, once I got down to this, an interesting thing came up, which is I'm not enough. And that's one of the phrases that was basically out of a fear in the Gene Keys, that the mind overthinks, is trying to think. And so that's something that I invite you today, is to think about, where do you feel like you're not enough? And of course, we'll bring back to childhood, where a certain, relationship that you had, or a certain condition that you had that made you feel like you were not enough. And this could be, looks, appearances, and how is that linked to overactive thinking in the mind? Thinking. Because if we take this, if a person doesn't feel like they're enough, well, let's think of all the ways where they can be enough. Maybe it's they're using their intellect. Maybe it's success, business, achievement. And so if a person doesn't feel like that's enough, then it means they're always adding all these different things to the mix. And then what it means as it continues is that the mind always has to be overactively thinking, trying to fill that void. So that would be the first thing, is where, if you feel like your mind's been racing this week, trying to figure out the solution, let's take a step back and think, okay, what's the core of feeling not enough deep down there that's causing the mental thinking of, oh, we got to do this, we got to achieve this, we've got to be this, we got to be there, we can't miss out. All of these things are rooted in that fear of I'm not enough. If in the mind feeling like, if we don't do all these things all the time, we're not going to be enough. And if we're not enough, we're not loved. And if we're not loved, then what happens in human history? If we go back to, anytime human history, if somebody gets kicked out of the tribe, they're done. And that's a form of love, is being in the tribe. So it's like we trace this down to the root cause of like our, ancient parts of our brain. We find that, fear of not being loved, fear of being, not enough, fear of being kicked out of the tribe. Then that leads to thinking and planning and, thinking and solving, boom, 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 when sometimes things just need time, number one. Or number two, all of that thinking actually clouds the clarity. And that's what it talks about in the gene key. So in the flow state experience, we'll go through and clear that piece of feeling not enough that's causing the over hyperactivity. And then there's some extra questions here that I feel like would be powerful to reflect on. And I feel like this is probably the transition from confusion to clarity, which is these questions. Because if a person's feeling confused, they probably don't know the answers to these questions. And if they are feeling clarity, they probably do know the answers to these questions, which is, where am I? Sounds so basic, sounds so simple, like, oh, I'm in a chair, I'm this, but this has different layers to it, right? Like, where am I in my life journey? Where am I in my business, my health, wealth, and relationships? Where am I? What am I doing? Like, so many times we can just get automatically doing certain things. Am I doing the thing that is going to get me where I want to go? Am I doing the right things? And there's that other piece. Where am I going? I might know where I'm at. I might know what I'm doing, but I might not be in the right direction. Like, if I keep doing these things, am I going to be off course, or am I in the right direction? Personal, business. And then the fourth one that came to mind for me is, what do I do next? So it's like, let's say a person knows where they're at. They know what they're doing, the work that they're doing. They know where they're going. But maybe it's like, okay, what do I do next? Maybe I know all these pieces, but what is the sequence? So these are a question that comes to mind, and there's no judgment with this. There's no like, you're wrong if like, it's yes or no to either one. It's more like, okay, if we're feeling clear, these are the check boxes we feel. If we are not feeling clear, we probably don't have these check boxes. And that's what me and the team's developing the True Freedom Dashboard to be, is to, like, the meta psychology underneath this is always answering these boom, 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 so that it's clear on how to keep progressing in a harmonious way, in a balanced way, in the most efficient way. So that's where I'll end it right there. Is, if you're feeling confused, especially this week, you're not alone. It's been in the air, and giving ourselves space and time for that. And that's one of the things that talks about in the Gene Keys with Richard Rudd, is that we want to figure it out. And I'm like, yes, that's totally me. I want to figure it out right now. But the thing is to actually just take a step back, be okay with the confusion, give it time. And then what happens in the brain is new neurons are connecting, and they need time, they need resources, they need minerals to those dendrites to connect, for them to, the electrical current to go through. And when the electrical current goes through, boom, we have a new idea, we have a flash. But literally, look at the biology, and the dendrites, the neurons are extending out, like they need time to connect. So with this, talk with confusion, sometimes you just need to take a breath, do something else, let those little neurons make their connection, and then boom, that eureka moment happens. And one other quote here that I believe is from Dan Sullivan, Benjamin Hardy, with their book, which is 84% of creative ideas come from when we're relaxing. That was the science that they had. 84% of creative ideas come from when we're relaxing, when we're not actually doing the thing and drilling the hole and hammering. 84%. So there we go, the 80-20 principle at work again. So with that being said, if we're feeling confused, not alone, let's get to the root cause. Feeling not enough, let's get clarity on these questions. so we can move forward, and we'll hop right in.